Hey everyone, I'm Melanie from Streamline Legal, where we help law firms get the most out of their practice management software. Tonight, I want to talk about making a quick escape from your practice management software. As often as technology is changing and new software comes out all the time and new features to software, it really makes that perfect practice management software a moving target. And so there definitely, I believe, will come a time where whatever software you're using now, there'll be something better, there'll be something new, and there'll be some reason that you want to leave. And so I think it's really important to consider how you're going to get your data out of your practice management software, whether you've been using it for 1 week or 1 year or 1 decade. We need to take that into consideration. And ideally, if you can think about that at the time that you're signing up for this practice management software and that you begin using it, I think that's going to be to your advantage. And so I want to make sure that you guys know how to get your data out of your practice management software. And I'm really talking about a bulk export, right? I don't want you to have to take the time to go to every matter and export that and then go to the next matter and export that, because after a number of years, this could be just an overwhelming task. Not to mention, I also think there's a lot of opportunity for us to use this data in other software and for other reasons. So a great example of that is marketing. You know, if I want to take all my contacts and bulk export them out, and maybe I want to take some data about those contacts as well, like when's their birthday and all that kind of stuff, and put that into another software, that's going to be a lot easier to do if I know how to bulk export it from my practice management software as opposed to having to recreate the wheel. So those are the two biggest reasons I think that this is really an important thing to think about as early as possible. Um, the reality is that not all practice management software is created equal when we're talking about exporting data. Some of them it's a lot easier to do than others, and some of it simply cannot be exported, and especially cannot be exported in bulk. So we want to make sure to pay attention to what type of data we're saving in there and how we plan to get that out if and when the time comes. Um, Also, keep in mind that if you're working with a cloud-based product, it's going to be a lot easier to get help exporting that data than if you're working with a product that is on a server or somewhere locally, because then, of course, someone would have to come out to your office if you needed help with this. So another reason that moving over to the cloud is a great consideration, especially in these days. And then I also want you to lastly think about all of the data. I'm not just talking about contacts. I'm not even just talking about matters, frankly. You know, what about the notes that you've been typing in there? What about the phone logs and the communications? Copies of bills and documents, those are traditionally some of the hardest data to get out of practice management software. So those are the kind of things I want you to look at. Traditionally, calendar events and contacts are usually very easy to get out. Most practice management software will have an integration with a calendar that will allow you to integrate it and then be able to take that data out of the Google Calendar or the Office 365 calendar or whatever you had it stored in. So that's not so hard, and contacts traditionally are very easy to get out as well. However, other things that, like we talked about, the documents and the notes and the call logs and stuff like that, let's make sure that we can get those out as well. So I want to head over to the screen here and just show you a couple of examples of how we can get our practice management software to cooperate and get a lot of data exported out as quickly as possible. So you'll see here, I'm going to go over 3 different softwares today, MyCase, Practice Panther, and Clio, just as examples. And it's really just to get you started on where to look and how to access this information. If you need more detail, please feel free to reach out or reach out to one of the companies as well. They may have some more detail to offer for you. But in MyCase, we want to start by going up to the settings. And once we click on settings, we'll have the option over here for import and export. And so we'll click on that. And then the first option is for contacts and companies. I told you that was going to be pretty easy. So we can click on export over here, and then they'll create a CSV file that we can access through Excel to be able to get that information out. Additionally, we can click on cases. And same thing, we can export those cases and that case information, which can be very helpful. Also, by the way, getting data out in order to move to another platform, we're going to want to take into consideration which data. So here we're talking about cases and contacts. They also offer a full backup. Now, this one is what I find most valuable. if you do go ahead and get this full backup, which by the way, they'll only create once within a 1 week period, so make sure that you're not ordering it every day. But the full backup does contain about 16 files, contacts, notes, all kinds of things that are going to be helpful. They'll tell you what documents you have stored in there, but they only present a list, not the actual documents themselves. Invoices, they'll give you, again, a list of invoices with data from the invoices, but not the invoice itself. So it just gives you a lot more information, though. So definitely, if you're looking to get a lot of data out of MyCase, check out that full backup that we have right here on the screen, or the option for. You just click on Create Backup, and that gets emailed to you. Then we're going to go ahead and take a look at Practice Panther. Now in Practice Panther, they make it a little more obvious. If I want to go ahead and export contacts, I can click on Contacts in the menu, and then right here you'll see is a little button to export to Excel. And so you'll find that in multiple areas in Practice Panther, not just for contacts, but then, for example, if I go over to Matters, there's an export to Excel as well. And of course, I can always integrate my calendar and get that out that way. So they do make it a little more obvious on the Practice Panther screen as to what we're going to need to do to export that information. And then lastly, we have Clio. Now in Clio, they don't make it quite so obvious for the bulk export. They do have it, if again, similar to Practice Panther, if we go to Contacts, we can go ahead and scroll to the bottom of the screen here, and it has a little button here, which is a little bit covered up by my toolbar. They have a button right here that says Export, and when you click on that, it gives you the option of a PDF or a CSV, just like Practice Panther did. When we click CSV, we can either get all of the columns they have available, all of the data, or we can get just the columns we see on the screen, and we can adjust those columns on the screen. So that's an option. Similarly with the Matters, they do the same thing. We can export those at the bottom of the screen as well, and again to a PDF or a CSV, and then again, either all of the columns they have available, all the data available, or just the ones on the screen. However, what I find even more helpful than this, and really gives us access to more data, is if I go up here to the toolbar and I adjust this address and I put in app.clio.com/export, then it takes me to this page where I'm presented with a lot more options. So here it shows me I can export my bank transactions, my bills, my calendar entries, my communications, contact notes, contact related matters, all kinds of things. Now, the contact notes and the matter notes, I find that very helpful to be able to bulk export those. Just all kinds of options here. So definitely if you're looking to export or get a lot of data out at once from Clio, please do take a look at this export page because it can be very, very helpful. So I hope that's helped. Again, really our goal here tonight was to make sure that you know the basics of how to get your information out, and convince you that it is an important step to take into consideration as early as possible. But whenever you get to that point, please do let us know if you need any help, and best of luck. Thanks for joining me tonight.